Have you ever felt like you're too clingy in relationships? Or maybe too distant? Have you dated someone who seemed perfect at first, only to watch things fall apart for reasons you couldn't explain? Maybe you constantly chase unavailable partners, or perhaps you're the one who pulls away just as things start to get serious. Well, what if we told you that these confusing patterns aren't just personal quirks or bad luck? What if there's a science-backed explanation for why love feels so difficult for some and so effortless for others? In this video, we explore Attached by Dr. Amir Levine and Rachel Heller, a groundbreaking book that brings the science of adult attachment to everyday relationships. It reveals how our early life experiences shape the way we connect, detach, and communicate in love, and most importantly, how we can change for the better. We'll dive into the core attachment styles: anxious, avoidant, and secure. You'll learn how to identify your own style, decode your partner's behavior, and avoid the painful cycles that leave so many relationships in ruins. Whether you're single, dating, or committed, this book offers actionable tools to help you find and keep the love you deserve. Chapter 1: Decoding Relationship Behavior. The book kicks off with a relatable scene. Three people, each caught in a different relationship struggle. One is obsessing over a partner who's growing distant. Another is dating someone new but already feels trapped. The third is stuck in a loveless marriage, wondering if it's time to leave. These stories may seem unique, but there's a deeper thread tying them together. Each person's attachment system is activated. This system, deeply embedded in our brains, evolved to keep us close to the people we rely on for safety and connection. The authors argue that once this system is triggered, it influences our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors, often without us realizing it. Some of us become anxious and overly focused on closeness. Others withdraw or avoid intimacy altogether. And a lucky few feel secure and balanced in love. What's revolutionary here is that these behaviors aren't just random personality traits. They stem from predictable, biologically rooted patterns called attachment styles. Understanding them changes the way we see relationships, not just our own, but everyone's. Attachment theory originated with studies of children and their caregivers, but Dr. Levine and Rachel Heller show how the same patterns persist into adulthood, especially in romantic relationships. Whether we obsess, avoid, or embrace love, we're acting out a script written by our attachment style. Chapter 2: Dependency is not a bad word. In Western culture, we're often taught that emotional independence is the ideal. Popular wisdom warns against being too needy, praises self-sufficiency, and labels people who seek closeness as codependent or weak. But this chapter flips the script. The authors argue that dependency isn't a flaw, it's a fundamental human need. Through compelling research, they demonstrate that the healthiest people aren't the most independent. They're the ones who form strong emotional bonds and rely on their partners for support. This is called the dependency paradox. The more securely connected we are to someone, the more confident and independent we become. Just like children who explore more when they feel safe with a parent nearby, adults thrive when they know they can count on their partners. Take, for example, a reality show couple, Karen and Tim. Karen craved reassurance during a high-stress race. She needed Tim to hold her hand, to show he was there for her. Tim, valuing independence, resisted. Later, they blamed their loss on Karen being too needy. But the truth? If Tim had understood the science of attachment, he might have seen that giving Karen emotional support early on could have calmed her, boosted her performance, and improved their outcome. The takeaway? Needing others is not a weakness. It's a biological design. Our brains are wired to form close bonds. And when those needs are met, we become our best selves. Chapter 3: What is my attachment style? Now that we understand why attachment matters, it's time to look inward. What is your attachment style? According to research, there are three primary adult attachment styles. Secure: you're comfortable with closeness. You trust your partner and enjoy intimacy without being overly dependent. Anxious: you crave intimacy but constantly worry about being abandoned or not being enough. Avoidant: you value independence and often feel overwhelmed or suffocated by too much closeness. The authors include a self-assessment quiz to help you pinpoint your style. But more importantly, they explain that your attachment style likely developed early in life, shaped by your caregivers, relationships, and emotional experiences. Attachment styles aren't just academic labels. They predict how you behave in relationships, how quickly you get attached, how you handle conflict, and whether you tend to stay in healthy connections or sabotage them. For example, anxious types often misinterpret their partner's actions, seeing distance where there may be none. Avoidants, on the other hand, may shut down when emotions run high, not because they don't care, but because they fear being engulfed. Knowing your style is the first step to change. Once you identify your default pattern, you can stop blaming yourself or your partners and start building awareness and resilience. Chapter 4. Cracking the Code. What is my partner's style? While understanding your own attachment style is eye-opening, being able to identify someone else's is life-changing. In this chapter, the authors teach you how to spot the subtle signs of a person's attachment style without a quiz. People's behavior reveals everything if you know what to look for. Avoidant types, for instance, may send mixed signals, talk about needing space, downplay past relationships, or act emotionally distant. Anxious types may seek constant reassurance, get easily upset by small changes, worry they're not lovable or enough. Secure types tend to be consistent and reliable, communicate openly, offer emotional support without drama. This chapter arms you with observational tools. Listen to how someone talks about their exes. Watch how they respond to emotional conversations. Do they lean in or shut down? Most of us fall into patterns, and the sooner you can decode someone's style, the better you'll be at navigating compatibility or avoiding unnecessary heartbreak. Chapter 5. Living with a sixth sense for danger. The anxious attachment style. Anxiously attached people live on emotional high alert. They're often hypersensitive to even the smallest signs of disconnection. Delayed texts, a shift in tone, or a canceled date can send them spiraling. This chapter gives us a compassionate look into their world. Anxious individuals crave closeness and fear abandonment. When their attachment system senses a threat, it kicks into overdrive, prompting protest behaviors like calling or texting repeatedly, withdrawing to get attention, creating drama to force a reaction. The key message? These behaviors are not about manipulation. They're a response to perceived danger, the danger of being unloved or left behind. The solution isn't to shame these needs, but to manage them. By choosing partners who are secure and responsive, anxious types can feel safe and gradually rewire their expectations. The goal isn't to stop wanting closeness, it's to learn how to seek it in healthy ways. Chapter 6. Keeping Love at Arm's Length. The Avoidant Attachment Style. Avoidantly attached people value autonomy above all else. They often view closeness as a loss of control and may interpret emotional dependence as weakness. This doesn't mean they don't want love. It means love feels threatening. When things get too intimate, avoidants may criticize their partner for small flaws, keep secrets, or stay vague about feelings. Focus excessively on work, hobbies, or distractions. Inside, they experience a tug of war. They want connection, but fear it will consume them. This chapter reveals how avoidants tend to rewrite history. They may idealize former partners they left behind or blame past failures entirely on others. But what they often can't see is how their fear of vulnerability undermines the very closeness they secretly crave. For avoidants, healing starts with awareness. They must learn to tolerate closeness, understand their partner's emotional needs, and gradually lower their defenses. Avoidant people aren't broken, they're self-protective. But in the process of protecting themselves, they often push away what they need most: love. Chapter 7. Getting Comfortably Close. The Secure Attachment Style. Securely attached individuals are the emotional anchor of relationships. They're the steady hand, the calm voice, and the safe harbor in emotional storms. They know how to offer love without fear and receive it without doubt. In this chapter, the authors explore what makes securely attached people so effective at forming and sustaining healthy relationships, and why we don't hear about them more often. Secure people often fly under the radar in conversations about romance. Their relationships don't feature dramatic highs and lows, but that's exactly why they're so valuable. Secure partners are reliable, emotionally attuned, and supportive. Secure individuals tend to communicate their needs directly and clearly, without manipulation or guesswork. Offer empathy and space during disagreements without stonewalling or avoidance. Support their partners through emotional ups and downs while maintaining their own balance. They aren't perfect, but they're flexible and resilient. If something feels off, they speak up. If their partner is upset, they show up. Instead of interpreting distance as rejection or intimacy as a threat, they stay grounded and present. This chapter encourages those with a secure attachment style to recognize their strengths and take pride in their capacity for intimacy. It also highlights how secure individuals can act as emotional regulators for their partners. An anxious person paired with someone secure often becomes more confident. An avoidant person may begin to lower their guard and explore deeper connection. In essence, secure people serve as emotional role models, showing us what mature, healthy love looks like in real life. Chapter 8. The Anxious-Avoidant Trap. One of the most emotionally charged dynamics in relationships is the anxious-avoidant pairing. Though it might seem like these attachment styles are mismatched from the start, they're surprisingly and often painfully drawn to each other. At first glance, there's chemistry. The anxious partner is captivated by the avoidant's cool independence, interpreting it as confidence. Meanwhile, the avoidant is flattered by the anxious partner's admiration and emotional intensity. This creates a honeymoon phase fueled by novelty and idealization. But as emotional intimacy increases, their instincts clash. The anxious partner wants more closeness and reassurance. The avoidant starts to feel suffocated and backs away. This triggers a reactive loop. The anxious partner protests by calling, texting, or expressing worry, which pushes the avoidant further away. The avoidant's withdrawal heightens the anxious person's fear of abandonment. Common red flags of this dynamic include inconsistent communication and ambiguous intentions, frequent breakups or threats to leave, feelings of being on an emotional roller coaster. This trap is more than just frustrating. It can be psychologically damaging. Both partners reinforce each other's insecurities. The anxious partner believes they're unlovable. The avoidant confirms it by pulling away. The avoidant fears being consumed by love. The anxious partner confirms it by demanding closeness. This chapter is a wake-up call. If this cycle feels familiar, it's not a sign that you're doomed. It's a sign that something has to change. Chapter 9. Escaping the Anxious-Avoidant Trap. Breaking free from the anxious-avoidant cycle begins with awareness, but it doesn't stop there. This chapter provides a practical toolkit for both individuals and couples who are caught in this emotionally draining loop. For the anxious partner, the first step is recognizing that their self-worth cannot be dependent on a partner's inconsistent affection. Instead of chasing love, they must learn to set boundaries, self-soothe, and assess whether their partner is truly capable of meeting their needs. For the avoidant partner, the key is understanding that intimacy doesn't equal entrapment. Avoidance must learn to stay engaged in the face of emotional discomfort, communicate fears instead of withdrawing, and view vulnerability as a strength, not a threat. The authors offer these core strategies. Intentional communication. Replace guessing games with honest, open dialogue. Mindful boundaries. Clarify personal space in ways that feel safe for both partners. Pattern interruption. Stop the cycle of pursuit and distancing by noticing it in real time and choosing a different response. In cases where both partners are committed to growth, these strategies can create powerful change. But if one or both partners are unwilling or unable to shift, it may be healthiest to walk away. The chapter concludes with a powerful message. No one should stay in a relationship that continually triggers fear and insecurity. Healing is possible, but only when both partners choose it. Chapter 10. When Abnormal Becomes the Norm. An attachment guide to breaking up. Ending a relationship is never easy, but for those with insecure attachment styles, it can feel like emotional devastation. This chapter explains why breakups are so profoundly difficult and how to navigate them with awareness. Anxious individuals often experience breakups as abandonment, triggering intense panic and despair. They may obsessively check social media, replay conversations, or hold on to false hope for reconciliation. Their attachment system is in crisis, and they'll do anything to restore connection, even if it's unhealthy. Avoidant individuals, on the other hand, often suppress their grief. They might appear unfazed, throw themselves into distractions, or quickly move on. Yet underneath, they're often carrying unresolved emotional wounds. The authors guide readers through key steps to a conscious breakup. Feel your feelings. Grieve the relationship, even if it wasn't perfect. Reflect with honesty. What did your attachment style contribute to the dynamic? Don't romanticize the past. Avoidants tend to do this, rewriting the relationship in nostalgic terms. Resist rebound traps, especially for anxious types. Jumping into a new relationship can delay healing. Ultimately, the end of a relationship is a powerful opportunity for growth. The pain is real, but it can lead to a deeper understanding of yourself and your relationship patterns. This chapter reframes breakups not as failures, but as critical turning points. Chapter 11. Effective Communication, Getting the Message Across. This chapter introduces one of the most valuable tools in the book: how to speak so your partner hears you, and how to listen so they feel heard. It's not just about talking. It's about communicating for connection. The authors introduce the SDER technique. Specific, focus on a clear, concrete issue, not vague complaints. True, be honest about your emotions and needs. Accepting, respect your partner's response, even if it's not what you expected. Respectful, speak without blame, criticism, or sarcasm. Rather than saying, "You don't care about me," a secure communicator might say, "When you cancel plans last minute, I feel unimportant. Can we talk about what happened?" These conversations build trust. They create emotional safety, which is essential for both anxious and avoidant individuals to thrive. Conflict doesn't have to be a sign that love is dying. When handled with skill, it becomes a gateway to deeper intimacy. This chapter emphasizes that communication is a learned skill, not a personality trait. Anyone can get better at it. And when you do, your relationships become more resilient, open, and fulfilling. Chapter 12. Working Things Out. 5 Secure Principles for Dealing with Conflict. Conflict is inevitable in any relationship, but how we handle it makes all the difference. This chapter delivers 5 evidence-based principles from securely attached couples who resolve disputes with grace and growth. 1. Show up with intention. Don't avoid difficult conversations. Lean in with a goal to understand, not to win. 2. Stay emotionally regulated. Take breaks if needed, but don't storm off or shut down. Breathe, ground, and return with clarity. 3. Empathize deeply. Listen not to respond, but to truly understand your partner's perspective. 4. Stay issue-focused. Resist the temptation to stack grievances. Deal with one thing at a time. 5. Seek repair, not revenge. Focus on rebuilding connection, not punishing your partner. Secure couples aren't immune to conflict. They just know how to navigate it without tearing each other apart. This chapter offers real-world scripts, mindset shifts, and strategies to help any couple move from defensive to collaborative, whether you're secure, anxious, or avoidant. Learning these principles can fundamentally transform the way you approach disagreement. Attached is not just a book about relationships. It's a blueprint for emotional healing, deep connection, and lasting love. Through the lens of attachment theory, it gives us a language for what we feel and a roadmap for how to change. It shows us that we're not broken, we're patterned. And with awareness, we can choose better partners, show up more fully, and grow into the secure, loving individuals we're meant to be. Whether you've spent years chasing love, running from it, or quietly waiting for it to find you. This book is a game changer. It empowers you to stop reacting and start responding, to stop repeating the past and start designing your future. Because when you understand attachment, you stop settling. You stop guessing. And you begin building the kind of connection that nourishes, inspires, and lasts. Thanks for watching. If this summary resonated with you, give it a like, share it with someone who needs it, and hit that subscribe button for more life-changing insights. See you in the next one.